Greetings, my fellow Africans and the entire world. Once again, I come into your homes and your minds with a message of empowerment and enlightenment, all the way from the African Mental Emancipation Movement. The African Mental Emancipation Movement is an organization or a movement that exists for the sole purpose of the emancipation of the African mind from mental slavery, as observed by Marcus Garvey and sung by Bob Marley. Today, I'm going to speak to you on the topic that I have been speaking on, and that is wake up, Africans. Mind is the master. Mind rules the world. And the subtopic for today is an Akan adage or saying which says that Nia muadino wundinko, meaning whatever the animals have eaten, let it go. What is more important is to protect what is left behind. And so in the Akan language, we say Nia muadino wundinko, Nia kano, and Nia bohobai. So what is left behind? Let's say you are a farmer. You have harvested your crops and put them in a barn, or maybe they are still not harvested. And so you left it in the hands of nature to protect them. But the following morning, when you return to the farm, some animals came around and they did justice to some of your crops. And it will be delusional, and no farmer would do any other thing apart from thinking of finding ways to protect what is left, but not what has already been eaten by the animals. And so this is a very important truth in our lives that we ought to look at and apply this principle in our life, in every nook and corner of our lives. And so you see that human beings, we are controlled by our mental state, your state of mind. So when you go through something and you dwell on that thing, you allow that thing to eat into you and become crystallized in your subconscious mind, it controls you. And for that matter, even when other thing comes, that you don't really have to reference that particular thing, you automatically bring it out because it has become your state of being. And that is the level at which Africans we are because of what happens in the past, particularly colonization. Every day, every now and then, we attribute our underdevelopment to the Europeans that came to colonize us. And even now, people whom we think are exploiting us. Yes, all these things have happened in the past, and they are like scars. They are things on our minds. And they are equivalent to a farmer that goes to his farm in the morning only to realize that the greater part of his crops has been eaten by animals and they've gone. So the farmer doesn't go around chasing these animals, trying to get them to punish them or to kill them, but he takes concrete steps to make sure that what is left is protected in such a way that even if they return, they will not be able to do the same thing to the crops. And so you see that Africans, we have gone through, have a relationship with the Europeans, and they have colonized us. We believe that they have taken all our natural resources, or some of our natural resources, and they've used it to develop their lands. That is true. I am not denying this. I am not saying this never happened. Yes, it even gone up to the point that people were taking slaves. But as a matter of fact, we fought. We became conscious of the fact that there is a need for us to control ourselves. And therefore, we fought for independence. After the independence, everything became ours. We have the control. We have the 100% control of everything that we have. But unfortunately, the African is still stuck in the old mindset that he or she or we are not able to develop because of what happened in the past. But as a matter of fact, if you look at what happened, they only took some of our raw materials, part of it. But the greater portion of the raw materials are still with us on the land of Africa. And as a matter of fact, there are even some of the new raw materials that have been discovered that during the colonial times, no one even knew about them. No, there was no need for them because mankind has not been able to be awakened to what they are supposed to be used for. And one of them is cobalt. Cobalt is something that came about because of the emergence or the coming up of aeroplanes, computers, and all those things. And so you see that even though they have taken, we still have more, and more are yet to be discovered. The irony of the whole situation is that even as we are lambasting the Europeans, we are blaming them for, looting our lands and all those things. We haven't been able to develop any technology. We haven't been able to discover some of the natural resources that are buried under our lands. We'd rather go to them to come and actually do the exploration and discover them, and then we say, oh, we have discovered oil, we have discovered this and that and that. But if you want someone to discover your things for you, to explore it for you, the fact is that he takes the greater part of it. And as a matter of fact, where do we even take these resources to? Natural resources to? We take it to them because they are the consumers, because they know what it is used for. And so you will see that we are not actually protecting what is left after colonialism, but we are only making noise. When we talk of protection, typical protection is not about we mining them and selling them to the Europeans or other people. But the true protection in this case is we being able to use our minds to develop these raw materials, mine them and turn them into finished goods and sell them to other people, including the Europeans, such that we will have complete dominion or control over whatever we are producing. We are not just begging people to come and buy it, but we are producing and using them we are mining them and using them to produce high-end commodities. But the African is not doing that. So you see that we are not protecting what has been left. So you see the Akan adage is a saying that whatever the animal has eaten, let them go, and what is needed is to protect what is left. We are not doing that. The Africans are not doing that. Whether we like it or not, we have left our minds somewhere. And people who are not using their minds to create, people who are not using their minds to develop and generate ideas, they are doomed forever. And that is why Africans, we are doomed. Until we begin to lead or to take off the lead or, the cap on our minds that protects us from thinking and to receive ideas, to think and receive ideas and develop our own resources and to develop our own way of life, such that it becomes a world order, we will never get anywhere. Natural resources will never take us anywhere because natural resources are just the beginning of a process. The end of the process is the final commodity. And if you cannot produce the final commodity, then you have nothing in it. You will sell it to them at a lower price. They take it and produce a high-end commodity. And when we see it, we become dazed. It's like something has come upon us. We want to enjoy whatever they have produced. And therefore, we buy them at high prices. Then we end up in debt. And so, whatever the animals have eaten, let them go. And what is more important is what we need to protect. How are we protecting the natural resources that we have? How are we making sure that we benefit from it in totality, but not just getting a fraction of whatever, a fraction from it? What are we doing? And this will never happen. Nothing will change until we begin to use our minds as expected by all human beings. God has created all of us, and He has given us inherent powers. He has given us the wisdom. He has given us the power to create and to improve upon our life. That is the most important thing. It is only when the African mines begins to mine their own raw materials and turning them into finished goods and exchanging them or selling them to other people that we are actually responding to this important statement in the Akan language that whatever the animals have eaten, let them go. What is left is what we have to protect. As a matter of fact, as I started, there are tons of natural resources on our land. But it is yet to be heard that an African has done his own exploration or by the way of our own effort, we have discovered a certain raw material that we are using it to produce a certain type of commodity, and we are selling it to the world. We are here to come to that point. And so you see that the people, the Europeans and other, they are indispensable in our lives. So it is delusional. It is a matter of madness for us to continue to live in this mental state that they are looting. They are not cheating us. Nature is such that it always has to balance things. If you don't know, look at erosion. How erosion works. You will be passing by and you will see that there is a hole in the ground. Now one day you come there, rain falls, then the water carries soil from somewhere to come and seal that hole. That is nature repairing its own thing. In the same way, raw materials are given to human beings to use their minds to turn them into natural finished goods. And any group of people that have these raw materials and they are not using it, nature has to bring people who are using it, who are using their minds to come and make good use of it. And so the coming of the Europeans onto the African continent is an invitation. It is a matter of attraction by the operation of the law of attraction, because we were not doing what was expected, and even right now we are not doing what is expected. So what are we doing with the raw materials that we are here, that we still have with us? We have no right, Africans, we have no right to demand anything from anyone that they have taken our raw materials until we are able to prove to the world, to ourselves, that this is what we are doing with what we have now with our minds. And for that matter, we have the divine right to ask these people for whatever they have taken. But so long as we are still tied to them, we are still appealing to them for their technology, we are appealing to them for everything, then we don't have the right. We are born, we are created and made in the same way. The British, the Germans, the French, all the people, they do everything just like us. But it is because people have spent their time, work on themselves, saw the truth, became awakened to the fact that the human being is a creator, and therefore they apply their minds and they have developed themselves to where they are. And so, whatever the animals have eaten, let it go. What is left is what we have to protect. What are we protecting, Africans? What are we protecting? Now, we are like chaps on the high seas that are being tossed by the power of the waves. Today, if you are not with the Europeans, tomorrow we are with some people like Russia, China. So we are crisscrossing every day, going from one end to the other, seeking assistance, seeking help, calling for foreign investment, when we have the actual wealth with us. And so, my brother, my sister, It is a mental, it's kind of mental incarceration. We are refusing, we are failing to think. And to think and know that complete liberation, total liberation will never come until our minds becomes free. And we begin to use our minds to create and develop ourselves. Development, as I've always been saying, can never be bought. Development can never be borrowed. Development can never be, created for. It is self-originating because you have to develop yourself. You are in a certain situation. You know how painful it is. So how do I get myself out of this state so that I'll be more comfortable or a little bit comfortable? Then you begin to use your mind. You begin to create. You begin to put things together to move yourself forward. And once you are able to get something better than what you have in the previously, you have developed yourself. So development is a continual movement. It's growth. We are growing. The African is not growing because we've left our mind somewhere. There's a mental bondage. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. And this is just an example of where Africans, we are not freeing our minds. We need to let things go. The past is the past. It is gone. We can never retrieve it. Whatever we are talking of, we can. But God has been so generous to us. We have more of the natural resources. We have more of the raw materials. Now is the time that we wake up and looking at how to protect these raw materials. And that is by using our minds, applying our minds to create finished goods, high-end commodities. And using our minds, seeking ideas, getting discoveries, so that we are creating things that the world haven't seen with our raw materials and giving it to the world as our contribution. That is how the world works. That's how the world or the universe runs. And so let us rise up. Let us have a place in our mind, our hearts. And let us train our minds to look forward, but not backwards. There is nothing backwards. The only thing that we need, or where there are things is the future. Just as if you are traveling on a river, there is nothing upstream. But all the things are downstream because whatever upstream is being swept downstream. And so if you are just, busy yourself studying down upstream, you will see nothing because everything has been swept downstream. In the same way, we are going forward. Whatever thing that has happened in the past, it will not bring any improvement in our lives. What is more important is the future, and that is why the statement, the adage says that what is more important is the protection of what is left. The future of our life is not in the past. The future of our life, the future of the African is not in colonialism anymore. The future of the black man is not in slavery anymore because it's the past. But the future of us is how we are using our mind, how we are becoming awakened to the powers that we have and using these powers to create a better and a wonderful life for us and all other people around us. That is the most important thing. Whatever thing that has happened in our lives, in our forefathers' life, it is gone. We can never rewrite it. We can never cut it out of our history. That is part of our evolution. The most important thing is what we are using and how we are using these events to motivate ourselves, to energize ourselves, such that we will rise up to do beautiful and wonderful things that they will be more useful to us and our future generation. That is the most important thing. So my brother, my sister, there are more natural resources on our lands. And especially if you go to Africa, there are more to be discovered. But which of them are being discovered by us? None. Which of them are being developed by us? None. What technology is coming out of Africa based on what we have? None. Nothing is coming. And this is the time. All these are indication, all these are evidence that the African minds are dead. And this is the time that we have to set our minds free. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds A mind that is free. A mind that is free, is liberated, is the mind that gets ideas. The mind that is free, that mind that is liberated, is the mind that brings out revolutionary things, ideas and inventions to improve himself or herself, her life, and all people around him or her. And this is the time. We are not shortchanged, my brother, my sister, my fellow Africans. None of us is shortchanged. None of us is incapable. We are all capable of doing anything that any man or woman has done. The only thing that is lacking in our equation is our consciousness of the powers that we have. At the moment, we are very unconscious. We are not aware of the powers that we have. We are not aware of the power of the human mind. And this is the time that we have to rise up. And that is why the African mental emancipation is here. We have done a lot. And we always come back to say that we have gone through a lot. Yes, indeed. We are going through a lot because we are not doing what is expected of us. We are not doing the right thing. And as I stated in one of my episodes, no man or woman on earth here will apply the mathematical principle 2 plus 2 rightly to get a wrong answer. It will never happen. It will never happen. And so the very fact that we are seeing all these painful and all kind of things in our life is an indication that we are on the wrong path. And the wrong path is that we are leaving our mind somewhere. Be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind, as given by St. Paul, is a universal truth. It's a command. Nature, at the beginning, gave command to all men and women, create or perish. And those who are creating are enjoying. Those who are not creating are perishing. And that is why Africans, we are perishing. We are perishing from all angles. And we are slaves. We are the world's slaves because we are not doing anything. We have the raw materials. We have the natural resources. But we don't have them in reality. They belong to other people because they know what those raw materials are used for. And now is the time that the African minds have to wake up. This is the time that we all have to wake up to this point and begin to work on ourselves. Mind is the master. Mind rules the world, regardless of how you would think, regardless of the quantity, the amount, the quality of the raw materials that we have as Africans. We will never rule the world until we begin to use our mind positively, constructively, and at the highest level to create, to improve upon our life, and to also contribute to the development, the evolution of mankind. That is the fact. So let us rise up. We have all these natural resources. Why do we have to preoccupy ourselves with whatever thing that has happened? All these events happened that when we were not there. And I love the statement made by the South African reggae musician, Lucky Dube, that none of us were there when it all started. Apartheid, colonialism, and all these things. Our current generation, none of us were there when it happened, when it started. And so it is not our responsibility to perpetuate it. This is our reality. This is the time we have. South Africa, there is no more apartheid. Anywhere in Africa, there is no more colonialism. How can we use our minds to generate, to create, and to improve upon our lives, to develop our resources that God has given to us, to use to help mankind? How are we going to do that? That is the question that we have to ask. But not the question of asking people for reparation and all these kind of things. That is delusional. The African is living what is more important and preoccupying him or herself with what is not important. Yes, I am not denying that they have taken our things. There is a fact. But at the moment, even if we go back and take some of these things, if they give us money, who is going to benefit from it? Who is going to benefit from it? It will end up going to the pockets of our politicians, our leaders. Just as they go for loans and the money goes into, they use it to develop themselves. But if all of us develop our minds and we become conscious of our powers and we become awakened to the fact that we are creators, let us always think of the common good of all, but not the good of one. Then that will be able to, anything that comes into our hand, we'll be able to make good use of it, judicious use of it. So let us rise up, my fellow Africans, my brother, my sister, whoever you are. This is the time of emancipation, the time of emancipation of the African minds, such that our minds will be free to receive from on high. Our minds will be free to receive, to create and think and have positive and wonderful things, revolutionary things, that we will use our natural resources to create and give it to the world. That this is the African contribution to the development, the advancement of humanity. Let us forget about the past. We cannot live our life in the past. And as I said, slavery happened. It is true. It happened. Colonialism happened. Apartheid happened. All those kind of things happened. But they are gone. Now, what are we doing now? And coming back to our topic, whatever the animals have eaten, let it go. What is left is that we have to protect whatever the Europeans have taken, whatever they have looted and used to develop their land. It is already gone. But God, being so grateful and loving, He has now more of the resources have been discovered. How can we make good use of this in such a way that we will no longer sell the raw materials to enrich them, but we will use the raw materials to enrich ourselves so that they will come and buy our commodities? That is when we will say we are actually protecting what is left. As it is now, it is not. Our leaders are trekking from one end of the world to the other, seeking foreign investment, seeking technology. Now, this is the time that Africans, we have to use our mind. So let us rise up, my fellow Africans. Let us look into our lives. Black people, wherever a black man or woman is in charge of affairs, nothing is happening. Go to Jamaica. Go to the Caribbean, where they are black leaders. What is happening? Nothing is happening. It's just the same, another version of Africa. It's just another version of Africa. Why? Because the black man is not capable to use his mind to create. It is because we have enslaved ourselves in the mind. We are so preoccupied with old issues. But this is the time that we have to liberate ourselves. And as Marcus Garvey said, that whilst other men and women may grant us physical freedom, it remains a universal truth that we will remain slaves if we are unable to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. And a man or woman that is unable to develop his mind to improve upon his life remains a slave to the one that has been able to develop his mind, and he's using it to improve his or her life. And that is the picture we are seeing now. Now even China has become another party that is, just going about doing everything that they want on the African continent. In the Jamaica, if you go to the Caribbean, it's the same thing. I know more of Jamaica because a few people have actually spoken to me about what is happening in Jamaica, how the Chinese have taken over everything. What are we taking over in anyone's land? Nothing. But we have the natural resources. So this is the time that we have to develop our mind. Let us rise up. Let us begin to liberate ourselves. Let us begin to put all issues aside. Let us look at them and say, yes, this is our past. This is where we came from. And let us begin to develop ourselves. And then we will look and say, yes, this is where we used to be. But today, this is where we are. This is where we have recreated our lives into by the power of God running through all of us and all other things. And that is when we say we are actually protected. We have protected what is left. Once again, let me invoke this word in the Akan language, in the Twi language, that niya muadino weninko, niya kano, ena yabohumbai. Whatever thing that the Europeans, Africans, we believe that the Europeans and whatever has taken, it is gone. And even our fellow Africans, our fellow Black Americans and those in the Caribbean, the slaves, the descendants of the slaves that today they find themselves in America and other countries, God has placed you there. Let us accept this as our part of evolution. But now let us use these events to energize, to empower ourselves, such that anything that we find in our locality, we are able to use our minds, to use them to turn into something beautiful and give it to the world. And that is when we say we are dominating the world. Raw materials, just mere selling of raw materials can never make a group of people to dominate the world. So that is my message for you. Niamuadino, Wandiko, Ma Wandiko, Wandinko, Niakano, and Niabohombai. Whatever the animals have eaten on your farmland or on your farm, when you were asleep, the following morning when you go to the farm, don't worry yourself about what they have already eaten. What is left is what you have to protect. And that is what we have to do now. Africans, it is no more about selling raw materials. It is about us using our minds to create and to modify, to improve ourselves and also sell it to the other world. This can only happen when we become awakened to the truth that we are the images and the likenesses of God. God has given us powers. God has given us everything that is needed to rule our lives and rule the world. So mind is the master. Mind rules the world. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Mental slavery is anything that is pinning your mind down in such a way that your mind is not free. Your mind is burdened, so that you're not able to think. You're unable to connect with your inner power. You're unable to connect with the universe to receive ideas and inventions. And when we emancipate ourselves, our minds from all these things, and our mind become free, we will receive ideas and we will become the same as all other people who we see them to be developed. That is my message for you. Now, once again, my name is Emmanuel Kwejo Mensah. I am a co-founder of the African Mental Emancipation Movement and the Eagle Mentality Group. Our determination and our drive, our purpose is the complete emancipation of the African minds from mental slavery and awakening ourselves to the indwelling powers, the inherent powers that God has given to all men and women, such that all of us rise up to use our mental powers. We will harness our mental capital, such that whatever wealth that we have within ourselves, in our minds, will now be overflowing in our lives and extending into our streets, extending into our cities, extending into every part of Africa, such that Africa will be great, Africa will be developed, Africa will be a center of attraction that all men and women from all walks of life will come and live and dwell amongst us. We'll create such that we will create a diverse, a multiracial Africa. Once again, let me remind you, the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King, that one day the children of the black race, the children of the white race, the children of all other people will live side by side on the land of America, is an incomplete business until the same thing is accomplished on the land of Africa. As it is, Africa is inhabited by only black people, and we have stolen the evolution of the human race. And this is the time we have to rise up and impact or influence one another for our motherland, Africa. For we know it is already achieved. For when the carnal man say it cannot be done, the man with vivid imagination and faith declares it is already done. And so the new Africa, the new Africa, multiracial and diverse Africa, is already here with us. Thank you. You are also invited to contact us through the email provided at the end of this video, or leave a message or leave a text on our channel after you've subscribed. Let us come together. This is the time for Africans. We rise up to take our rightful place in the universe. Thank you, and God bless you.